Good evening, everyone. The hour of 6 o'clock having arrived, I'd like to call this June 30th workshop of Carlisle Borough Council to order. We will begin with a Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And are there any citizens to be heard this evening? And if you could just please give us your name and address for our minutes, we'd appreciate it.
Hi, I'm Sherry McBean-Minnick, and I live at 220 North Bedford Street. And I'm here to comment about the need for stop signs at Dickinson Drive and Bosler Drive. It's on the agenda for the Public Safety Committee action item. And I know you're probably wondering why, when I live on North Bedford Street, would I care about what's going on at Dickinson Drive. But my niece and her husband live there with their 3 children, 7, 5, and 9. And they've lived there for 3 years. And unfortunately, they couldn't be here tonight because of their jobs. But I know that Christopher, my niece's husband, has written to Mr. Mayor, to Chief Landis, and to Mr. Malerich about their concerns. And so I thought I would come because I've personally witnessed some close calls with kids and cars. As I said, they've lived there for 3 years, and the neighborhood is unique in that there are only 2 stop signs. One at Sadler Drive where it intersects with Garland, and one on Bosler where it intersects with Rockledge. And all the other intersections, there are yield signs, and there are 7 yield signs in that development. And people don't always slow down for yield signs. And like any place, some people drive too fast. And at times, when there's construction on Rockledge or Garland Drive, there are detours through the neighborhood. And so sometimes there is an increase in traffic. There are lots of kids. My sister had said she's counted 20 kids gathering around in various parts. And they're playing outside. It's summer. They're riding their bikes. They're playing on basketball. They're riding scooters. And because of the pandemic, some of the kids have been out of school a lot more than typically because they've been on virtual school or school has been closed. And so they're outside more. And I personally witnessed cars driving too fast and going through the intersection where my niece and her husband live, which is at Dickinson and Bosler. And not slowing down, just going. And they have a little green man that they put in the intersection that says kids are playing, but it doesn't seem to always make a difference. And one particular instance where I saw a little girl, and I don't know who she was, I think she lives in the neighborhood, come flying down Dickinson Drive on a scooter and went right through the intersection. And I thought, we all kind of held our breath thinking, please, dear God, don't let there be a car coming. Unfortunately, there wasn't. But they shoot down Dickinson, they ride their bikes in the intersection, and I know they should be watching for cars, but they're kids. So if cars had to stop at that intersection, it might make it safer, it might prevent a tragedy or an accident. And so I'm here to urge you to please act and pass the ordinance or create an ordinance to erect stop signs in the development where there are yield signs. So thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Anyone else this evening? All right, hearing none, we will move on to the meeting minutes. So, yes. All right, Ms. Stallworth, you're recognized.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Scott, Deputy Mayor Schultz, members of Borough Council. My comments here this evening will be brief. 1 month and 5 days ago, the Truth and Reconciliation Commission met for the first time around the objectives set forth by Resolution 03-11-2021-01, and among those objectives are examining and documenting policies, practices, and actions by the Borough of Carlisle that have contributed to racial inequity and systemic racism. These comments, being delivered on the same occasion as discussion around CDBG funds, is not lost on me and should not be lost on any of us gathered here today. The often ironic and uncomfortable truth about systemic racism is that it is insidious, and that if we are not careful, very well-meaning individuals and opportunities can often be rooted in white supremacy, and thus leading to a truth to which this council has committed to understanding. In closing, I would encourage council to keep these commitments to truth and reconciliation, as messy and uncomfortable as it may be, in front of them as decisions regarding the least of these are concerned. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Joyce, anyone else in the Zoom seeking recognition? All right. Okay. Next up is the meeting minutes. I will entertain a motion to approve the June 2nd workshop meeting minutes.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Stubbe and seconded by Mr. Crampsey. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion carries. Next is Mayor's Report. I'll entertain a motion that I ratify, or the council ratify, Mayor Scott's execution of the contract with Pyrotechnico for our fireworks display on July 3rd at 9:30 p.m. at the Carlisle Fairgrounds.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Hicks, seconded by
Second.
Ms. Landis. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you very much. Now moving on to budget and finance. That would be you, Mr.
Yep.
Ramsey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll just need some help on some of the seconds tonight. So there are 3 action items. The first item, I'll make a motion that Borough Council may reject all bids received on June 1st, 2021 related to the 2021 towing services.
Mr. Crampsey makes a motion to reject the towing bids. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Fulham-Winston. Any discussion on this?
Just a question for staff. Do we anticipate, will new bids be going out?
Yes, once action's taken, we'll get that process started right away.
Great, thanks.
All right. Seeing no further questions, I'll call we have questions from audience members. Sir.
Yeah, can I ask you a question of why those bids were rejected?
First, your name and address, please.
Michael Wheeler, Wheeler's Towing. We were the only bid in the bidding process.
Yeah, I can answer that. The primary reason was that the bid documentation that was submitted did not contain all the information we needed. Primarily, the collision service did not include a rate, so we need that information to be filled out accurately before we can accept the bid.
And is that standard procedure with like a typographical error that could just be moved over one column? That we have to go through the whole process again?
There were 3 columns, and we only received 2 rates, and so we need all three rates to be there.
So is that standard practice?
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Richard. Any further discussion on this? All right. I'll call the question. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Second item tonight, I'll make a motion that Borough Council may ratify the execution of the grant agreement and other associated documents for the coronavirus state and local fiscal recovery funds as authorized by the American Rescue Plan in the total amount of $9,186,671 for eligible recovery costs related to the COVID-19 pandemic.
Mr. Crampsey calls for council to ratify the execution of the borough's coronavirus state and local fiscal recovery funds. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion?
I guess I'll just add, and I'll look to staff for this one. So this motion tonight isn't spending those funds, but we'll start the process, and more details will be coming?
That is correct. We are just, once again, you're just ratifying the execution of the agreement, ratifying that. And while we have started to receive monies through the Treasury, none of those will be spent until we go through a public vetting process.
Have we received all of the necessary instructions about how we can and cannot use the money, or is that still forthcoming?
We continue to receive guidance, but we have initial guidance that we are trying to base it off of, and they continue to, whittle that down as time goes on.
So we'll
It is the federal government, folks. See, we've been joined by Deputy Mayor Schultz. Good evening, sir. Any further discussion on this? Joel, anything? No? Okay. All right, I'll call the question. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I'll take this last one. I'll make a motion the Borough Council may approve entering into a contract subject to the Borough Solicitor's satisfactory review of the terms and conditions outlined in said contract with Camtech Systems Incorporated. Borough Council may authorize the purchase of 14 Axis wireless cameras, related equipment, and services at a cost of $26,840.
Mr. Crampsey makes a motion to approve the borough entering into a contract with Camtech Systems Incorporated. Is there a second? Second. Seconded by Deputy Mayor Schultz. Any further discussion on this item? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion carries.
Thank you very much. That ends Budget and Finance Report.
Okay.
Oh, I did them as well.
You did them as one. All right. Thank you. I should pay attention. Economic Development.
Thank you, Mr.
Staff
Mayor.
update.
Before I turn it over to Susan, I just did want to say we had a ribbon cutting for the closest business to my house this morning, the Harvest House, where is open for business. It is a early child learning care center run by a couple, Burchetts, and Joanna is also a school board member, but decided that this is an important, as we all know, early childhood development and care is greatly needed, and she has a lot of experience there and is looking forward to growing her business there. And I made it very clear, and Susan was able to attend as well, that we look forward to developing that area. Of course, we have the connector project, but I think there's a lot of room to make an area where children are developing a little bit more attractive, and I look forward to working with her to do that. So it was a nice day this morning. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Susan to discuss the Open Container Ordinance Amendment.
Thank you, sir. Okay, it's been over a year now, believe it or not, that Borough Council took certain measures to respond to the residents and business community's needs during a very chaotic and time during the pandemic. On May 29th, Council held a special meeting with local businesses, and during that meeting, there were a number of ideas that were tossed around, and it was only a short time thereafter, in June, the Council took two steps to assist the business community. One being, you lifted the open container ordinance, and that was actually, I believe, around the first week in June that you did so. And it was lifted for the C1 business district, and provided the opportunity for your restaurants and your bars and distilleries to allow for the purchase and of alcohol, and for individuals who were frequenting the C1 to be able to enjoy those beverages on the sidewalks. At that same time, you also took measures to allow businesses to expand their sidewalk footprint. Prior to you doing so, businesses were permitted to make application to the borough for a sidewalk cafe permit, but they were restricted to only that space within their business footprint. So by expanding it, you permitted them to expand outside that business footprint to adjoining properties, so long as they had the property owner's permission. Both of these measures we've monitored closely throughout the year, and I'm pleased to say that we have received very little expressed concern. Now, we understand that it was an unprecedented year. We still would like to continue to monitor things once we go into a post-pandemic environment and return, hopefully, to pre-COVID nightlife in the downtown and so forth, and then see what may transpire. But because the governor has lifted the declaration, we will now need to determine whether to continue to allow the expansion of sidewalk use in the open container, and we have to do so through an amended ordinance. So what's before you is a draft that we drafted for your consideration. Would ask that you could consider to authorize the solicitor to advertise it this evening, or if you'd prefer, we can wait until the July 8th council meeting for you to take such action. What I would say is that we've already received at least one request from a business that is looking to the LCB to provide permission to them to continue use of adjoining properties' footprints. And in order to do so, they need to have documentation from the borough that they're permitted to do so. Any questions?
No, I would just say that given those time constraints and the fact that the police department reports no incidents other than those that are in community-wide with public drunkenness, there have been no calls or citations issued relating to the downtown or sidewalk business in the area. So I think based on that, I think we should consider to draft and advertise the ordinance this evening.
Mr. Mayor, I agree. I just want to add, we have, this isn't new territory. We have experience essentially operating under this ordinance for nearly a year and a half. As Susan indicated, it's been very positive. And I do think there's a certain amount of urgency with local businesses in a bit of a transitional period as to whether this is going to continue to move forward. I'll just say I'm comfortable advertising as is. I had some other discussions about whether we might in the future think about expanding it maybe beyond the C1, but I don't think that needs to be, that's something that we can take up later.
Yeah, I'll just add, I'm supportive of this, and thank you, Chief, and the department for that data and monitoring that. And I think even in the notes here, some of the issues we can clean up. If it's broken bottles and things like that, we can figure those out. So I'm on board with doing this. I'm fully supportive. My only hesitation, I think we should move forward as quickly as possible. I guess my plead would be with Harrisburg, because due to recent events, cocktails to go are not authorized. So I would hate a scenario where folks are bringing their own spirits downtown to have open containers and not going to our businesses. So I guess I'm supportive of this. I'll happily vote for it, and pleading with the Pennsylvania Senate to come back and pass a clean bill, because there's one sitting there. They'll pass it. The governor can sign it. I just hope they actually do that sooner rather than later. Thanks.
Just one thing, I'm totally in support. The ordinance looked very clean to me. The one thing I think we need to keep in mind is that Dickinson students were not with us last year, and they can be a bit feckless. And perhaps being in touch with Dickinson to include information about the open container law in their new student orientation, so that they know that it's happening and that they need to be respectful of it, or else they'll have a problem. But that's the only thing that's going to change in the next 6 months, is that students are going to come back. But other than that, the ordinance is great.
Just to note that new students are not 21 yet, so so we should be talking.
They're all sort of new because they've not
Yep,
been
yep,
but whatever orientation they do, is people coming back to campus, I think it needs to be noted that this is a law.
Agreed.
I do have something to Councillor Cramsey's point. Might it be prudent for us to? I mean, I do acknowledge that the state Senate and the House are not in session again, at least right now, until September. But might it be prudent of us to, as a council, send a letter to our state senator and state representative, essentially encouraging them to pass the legislation before them, allowing businesses to provide cocktails to go, and in even noting the action we're taking in support of our downtown businesses that they've encouraged us to take.
I don't think it's a bad idea. I also think we should also copy that correspondence to our bars and restaurants as well, so that they know that we've already asked. We're going to do our part, and we would like them to do their part too. Is there a motion to draft and advertise? Not yet. Okay. Mr. Hicks?
I have to apologize. I didn't know we needed a motion to advertise. We do? Okay, well then I move that we advertise the posting of here we go. Thank you. I move that we consider directing the borough solicitor to advertise an ordinance amending chapter 78 and chapters 223 of the code of the borough of Carlisle that would allow the continuance of open sidewalk cafes and adjoining properties and consumption of alcoholic beverages by open containers in the C1 business district.
Thank you. Mr. Hicks has made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any further discussion on this item?
May I
You may.
ask whether or not council would consider also, as part of that advertisement, the ordinance has to be advertised for a matter of 10 days. In order to move this along expeditiously, would you consider holding a special meeting this month to take action on this item?
Yes,
Next one.
that's fine.
Yes, July. Sorry.
It's the literalistic.
Yes, that's fine. We good with that? Okay. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, we have a motion. We have a second. Anything further? All right, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion carries. Thank you, everyone. Next, employee relations, citizen participation.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have two items this evening. First, I move that council accept the resignation of Sophronia Perry from the Human Relations Commission, effective immediately.
Mr. Tooby makes a motion to accept the resignation of Sophronia Perry from the HRC. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion carries.
And next, I move that council appoint Mr. Joseph D. Grimes as an alternate member on the Civil Service Commission. The 6-year term will become effective immediately and shall expire on July 31st, 2027.
Mr. Stubbe makes a motion to appoint Mr. Joseph D. Grimes as an alternate to the Borough Civil Service Commission. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion carries.
And that concludes my report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Public safety. I move the council draft an ordinance that provides the placement of stop signs at Dickinson Drive and Bosler Drive.
Second.
The motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion?
I did want to just note, we talked yesterday, a few of us, about different infrastructure projects in. And I did just want to maybe bring it up in the meeting, publicly. I'm not against putting a stop sign there. It looks like there's lots of rationale for it, but also the idea of us looking at, and it was also reference of doing other traffic calming measures when the streets are scheduled for repaving, but also looking at roundabouts instead of just always just putting the stop signs in, or looking at other traffic calming like the S curves and things like that. So just making sure that we're using all of the modern and different tactics that work in urban areas, while also obviously like looking at the safety. So at the core is the safety. So I'm fine with passing this one, but just making a public note that I think that there's also lots of other opportunities for us to look at how we want to shape our urban like roadways that are accommodating for all folks who, as they said, lots of kids are riding bikes and things like that. So yes, so that was just my note.
Yes, and along those same lines, one of the staff recommendations was to reduce the intersection radius, which could be done within the next 5 years when the scheduled repaving of that street it's time for. So it'll be the stop signs and also reducing the intersection radius for those of you playing along at home. All right. Anything further on this?
So there's just a bit of a, the memorandum recommends four-way stop at two separate intersections, one being Dickinson and Bosler, and the second one being Biddle and Sadler.
Right. Thank you, Mark. Okay. I guess, should I make that part of the motion? Okay, I will amend my motion to include all-way stop signs at the intersection of Dickinson Drive and Bosler, and at the intersection of Biddle Drive and Sadler Drive to substitute stop signs for yield signs.
Second the amended motion.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, motion carries, and that ends my report. Public Works.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have 3 items tonight. It's always fun to read these things. I find out things I never knew before, including the name of those things that look like walls made of rocks and wire. I never knew the name of it. A gabion wall, and we're going to repair one.
Right.
So I would ask Borough Council to consider approving a contract to EK Services for $20,131 to complete repairs to the wall along the Connedagunit Creek at the water plant.
Ms. Pullman makes a motion to approve a contract with EK Services. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion on this? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes have it, motion carries.
Thank you. I would ask Borough Council to consider approving the purchase of a SCAG zero-turn mower from Kenny's Lawn and Garden Equipment Center for $15,878.
Ms. Wilminson makes a motion to approve the purchase of a SCAG zero-turn mower. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any further discussion on this item? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you. And lastly, I would ask Borough Council to consider issuing a letter in opposition to Senate Bill 597, wastewater and asset management plans.
Ms. Wilminson makes a motion for council to issue a letter in opposition to Senate Bill 597. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any further discussion on this item? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion carries.
And that completes my report.
Thank you. Under new business, recognize Brenda Landis.
Thank you. I just wanted to start the discussion on a resident, actually a resident, and then I also saw a post on Nextdoor of some issues with litter, specifically in the Memorial Park area. Also, there was one for Hepburn Palmer Park in the parking lot. So it's not just the parks themselves, it's along the streets, also folks hanging out in cars along the streets, some, smoking marijuana, and just, sort of loudness and making folks not want to take their kids to the park. I live in the neighborhood. I did follow up with the resident, and it was just the beginning of this month, and I sent it along to some of the staff here. And I have been, sort of, as I passed through that area observing, and it did look like things were better. I did see that that very day that I saw bike patrol going through. So just sort of making it so that we are present and know what's happening in our parks. But yesterday I did drive through in the morning, and there was litter all along the street, and there was no cars there. I thought that it was maybe a street cleaning day, so I did follow up, and I really appreciate our staff tending to it quite quickly. They sent a street sweeper through, even though it wasn't the day. No one got ticketed if they were parked there. But things like that, like, we can try to do that, but I think we need to be a little bit more proactive to ensure that people can continue to use our parks. Because, I've taken kids to the splash pad, but at times I've also seen, like, a broken bottle there. And so little, bare feet and broken glass are not a happy partnership. So I did speak with Safrani Perry at Hope Station, and she has offered to host a meeting there on July 14th at 6 p.m. I believe that's a Wednesday. So I followed up with the resident. I'm going to also have us post out on Nextdoor. I believe Andrea Kraus had noted that there is also a lot of litter around the basketball court. And the main thing that I want to say is, like, I don't want it to be vilifying who goes to Memorial Park or basketball players or anything like that, but there is a problem. And so everyone has to, what I'm looking for is an all hands on deck approach. I did help renovate Harbour Lake Palmer years ago, and there is still litter there, but there's more people that pick it up. And so folks, playing basketball, unfortunately, if they see some litter, maybe they could also help. And so everyone can kind of work, because it's not going to only be the borough's responsibility to send people out. So the residents in the neighborhood, the people that love the park and are using the park, can collectively come together to help make that, to show that they are caring for this collective public space. So I guess the conversation with us here is also some, sort of brainstorming of where the trash bins are. Do we need more? I don't necessarily know that that's it right now. It seems like a lot of times there's trash very near the bins, even if they aren't overfilled. I believe that the parks crew go in Mondays and Fridays to clean Memorial Park, but we do have a limited park staff. So again, it's not trying to say that someone is not doing their job, because they are, and we, it's just a huge task. But some thoughts that I've had are, since we see that it's now a heightened issue, collectively looking with all of our staff that are out and about in Carlisle, and if someone notices that Memorial Park or other areas maybe have like a heightened litter concern, then maybe there could be some sort of follow through that we could figure out if there's a way that's, it could be tended to quicker, and not only necessarily with park staff. Is there someone else that could go through? I know that Hope Station employees go out and clean it too. Like, Jason over there has gone out. And I do know that in the previous years, when there was the basketball league, I thought that was actually a really great model, because part of the requirement is they had those kids help clean up the park, and they collectively use it, and it was a wonderful community good, but at the same time they had to invest some sort of participation and time into it. So that's what I'm really trying to figure out, a way that we can do a partnership with the community, that they see it as something that they cherish. They love the basketball courts, but at the same time, it can't continue the way it is right now. And we want to make sure that little kids can feel, that parents can feel comfortable taking their families there. So I guess I'm just open to further discussion. I do have, like I said, this open meeting on July 14th. But that being said, there are certain people that just won't come to a meeting. So meeting people where they are and literally talking to people in the park, I'm happy to do that. I love a partner, but going not in my fancy, workshop outfit, but like how I am in my neighborhood. I mean, I think that there's something to be said about just talking to people and making sure that they, because when we put signs up, and I do think that not just to clean up, our park, but there's some creative litter campaigns, and there's some that show like little kids in a park with the trash, which is exactly what's happening right now, and sort of putting that in front of people's faces and making them really grapple with it might be something that could help. So I guess it's an open start of a conversation, and I really want us to make sure that all of our parks are safe and comfortable for people to go to.
I think that recruiting the basketball league guys is a great idea. The only problem is I don't know if they're going to do it this year.
Right, so they're not, but there are people who play basketball there. Okay. So it's not a league,
right.
But there are, and there are probably some people that play basketball and they leave some litter, and a lot of other folks that don't. So it's not like a one size fits all, and that's why I'm trying to make sure that we don't have this expectation of who is doing something. But then again, you just talking and be like, it's not that, could you just help out, right? So literally just saying like, could we work together to make sure that you have this great space and other people can use it too. And I think that and like I said, with Harborley Palmer, I think there's just more people that go there and they cherish that spot and they see some litter and they clean it up. And so, yes, Parks Rec definitely are doing that as well. But, and so because of the street as well, it's not just in the park, it's along the street. So that's why, we had to work in partnership with a lot of different departments within the borough here and make sure that staff can take different parts. I have to clean it up too if no one could go out yesterday. But I mean,
no, I saw that.
I do. I've got my gloves and my garbage bag. So,
any thoughts, council members? Oh, see, that's the.
They said it might storm.
Yeah, that's a
scattered shower.
That's a sign, I think, too. Yeah, God has spoken. We have to clean up our parks. Okay. No, I think Brenda's idea about maybe some creative anti-litter campaigns, not just in Memorial Park, but in all of our parks, would be worthy of looking into, and perhaps we could have a report from staff on some ideas that we could do. And Brenda, if you need a partner, I will go with you. Just call me up.
Can I just add to that? This is a bigger project idea, but I'm thinking, hearing Brenda talk about that issue made me think, not just parks, but downtown. And right, there's always need for folks that can do stuff. And I know other municipalities have done ambassadorship model programs where folks are at the parks in downtown and they're not only there to pick up trash, but there to offer suggestions, help, that type of thing. It wouldn't, obviously Carlisle's smaller, so it wouldn't have to be a huge program, but I wonder if that's something we can explore in the future.
That's a good idea too. We'll make a list. Yes, Bill.
I had an email from a constituent about 2 minutes before I came over tonight, and I'm not sure how to answer it. What he was talking about was evidently Philadelphia has put in a plastic bag ban, and I thought I thought the legislature had prevented municipalities from doing that. So that's not correct?
As of today, municipalities can do that.
Can do?
Yes, but that will be a larger discussion.
Okay.
But that just happened today, correct?
Excellent. Oh, okay. Well, if that could be on somebody's list for us to discuss,
okay,
that would be great.
There we go.
Thank you.
Okay.
It is on a list.
It's on the list. All right.
Just one last follow-on to Brenda's theme. I agree that the trash priority should be in our parks. I think it's pretty evident to me that there's the right-of-way, the easements, and the public parking along the train tracks don't really fall in anyone's job jar, and they degrade, and if it's not for local citizens picking it up. So, which is to say that if we do feel like we can reach out and get more of the community involved, I'd like us to think a little bit about the 15 to 20 yards on each side of the tracks, which become a real focus for a lot of unwanted trash.
Mm-hmm. I've seen that too. Okay. If there's nothing further from council, we have a new fire chief, Chief O'Donnell. Welcome. welcome to the fold.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here, and I look forward to working with all of you. It's the staff here has been welcoming, and look forward to a nice career here in Carlisle.
Welcome. We're happy to have you, and we hope you come back next month. How about that?
I'll try.
Okay. All right. Try and fit that
Well
in.
reminded.
Okay. I'm sure. Thank you, and welcome again. And I just have a quick announcement. Fireworks this Saturday. Yours truly will be the host this year. And the gates open at 7 p.m. There'll be food vendors, live music, all sorts of things to keep you occupied until the fireworks start at 9:30. And they will be shot traditionally from the highest point of the fairgrounds and can be seen miles around. And we will be having it again. Gates open at 7, fireworks at 9:30. Hope to see you all there. Yes, sir.
So I have a question for you quick. You guys were talking about the Skag Zero turn mower,
Mm-hmm.
Kenny's. There is no Kenny's except in Florida and Kentucky. Are we talking about Jerry's? Is that the typo?
That's a typo. Yes, I have it on good authority. That's a typo. Thank you. Thank you for pointing that out.
Thank you.
Good catch. All right. Anything further as far as new business? All right. Hearing none, this meeting is adjourned. Oh, one other thing. We'll be having an executive session immediately following this meeting, and we'll be talking about personnel matters. And there'll be a public hearing at 6:45, so stay tuned. Thank you. Yep. I like doing it. Okay. Good evening, everyone. The hour of 6:45 having come and gone, we will reconvene into a public hearing on the borough's community development block grant annual budget. And Mr. Chris Rafferty is here to address us on this year's budget. And of course, name and address for the record, even though we know who you are.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, Borough Council members. My name is Chris Rafferty. I actually live in Hanover, Pennsylvania, 310 West Hanover Street. So I'm here to discuss the borough's annual action plan for program year 21. The borough is required as an entitlement community under the block grant program to have a public hearing to discuss the proposed action plan. The action plan or public comments on the action plan will be open until July 7th, and on July 8th, the borough will be asked to take action on the proposed plan. At that point, it will be submitted to HUD, and then hopefully they will be able to issue grant agreements for the borough's block grant program in a timely fashion. So they have been doing, believe it or not, a very good job over the past year and a half, not only with the block grant program, but also with the block grant and the COVID funding that's come down through HUD. The borough, according to HUD, is scheduled to receive $371,330 in program year 21. I want to highlight a couple of activities. The borough is looking to create a new program for energy assistance to low moderate income homeowners. This will be structured very similar to the homeowner rehab program that you currently fund. Some of the differences might be, though, in that how we work with the contractors. Usually with weatherization programs, you have a contractor who will go in and do a blower door test. And what this test does is determine where air is infiltrating the house. So what we want to do is make sure we're very efficient in how we use these funds. So we're probably not going to replace doors, windows. What we'll do probably based on the blower door test is we'll use weather stripping, caulking to seal doors, windows, get the unit to be energy efficient. The other program we're looking to modify is the sidewalk program. It has not been changed for close to 20 years. The level of assistance will be increased for a low moderate income person to receive up to $3,000 in a grant for sidewalk improvements. A person that has moderate income, they can be eligible for $2,000. So that's a quick summary of why we're here tonight. I encourage people in the community to provide us comments. We'll include those in the action plan when we submit it to HUD, and also address what their issues and concerns are. And as I said, we have until July 7th for them to submit their comments. Are there any comments or questions? Were there any online? Were there any online?
There was only a comment online that it was communicated.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. a little late now, but okay. Okay.
Okay, looks like there's no questions. Thank
Okay.
you very much, Chris. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
All right, we're at the end of our public hearing, and now we will adjourn from that, and council will go into executive session. We do not anticipate returning to open session this evening. Thank you, everyone.